Hey guys, Ace here from Select Start, bringing you more fantasy football action in my Thursday night football fantasy breakdown. It was a barn burner that came down to the final seconds. What a game, guys. There was a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. We'll start with the Dallas Cowboys. With Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper, they show great chemistry, as Amari looks like, well, unguardable at times. And I think Dak Prescott silenced critics, including me, doubting that he can get back to that MVP level he was at before the gruesome injury last year. On one play scrambling out of the pocket, getting knocked out of bounds on a play where I think everyone watching was holding their breath. Still not sure how he holds up scrambling out of the pocket this year, but I think last night was encouraging. He did throw an interception on a rather head-scratching throw, so you may have to live and die with Dak at times this year. Still, he finished the game solid, going 42 for 58 with over 400 yards and 15 fantasy points. With Amari Cooper being the main beneficiary of all that efficiency, Cooper finished catching 13 receptions for 139 yards for 39 fantasy points. Man, Amari looks like he's taking that next step as an elite wide receiver option. So if you have him on your team, you gotta steal. Let's not forget CeeDee Lamb. While experiencing some first game jitters with 2 early drops, he rebounded strong with solid effort, catching 7 receptions for 104 yards and 24 fantasy points. Man, CeeDee Lamb is a real deal, guys, and played well against 2 of the better cornerbacks in the league. If he keeps this level of production up, his fantasy owners will be ecstatic. I am all in on these Dallas Cowboys pass catchers. Even Michael Gallup, who was having a great game before he ultimately left with an ankle injury, he's looking like he may end up an exciting waiver option next week. Be on the lookout for Jay McShay's weekly waiver rundown. There'll be a link in the description box if you haven't checked out his last one. I strongly encourage that you do. I don't have too much to say about Zeke because he simply wasn't a factor. Tony Pollard seemed to be again the best running back out of the 2. As far as fantasy value go with these 2, shoot, flip a coin. Personally, I give Tony Pollard the edge because of how they use him in this offense, while Zeke looks a little one-dimensional and could probably benefit from a change of scenery. On the defensive side, we saw Micah Parsons in his first regular season game, and he definitely looked the part, making plays all over the field. If you're playing in IDP leagues, Trayvon Diggs is definitely worth considering waivering. He simply has a knack for the football. Last year in his rookie year, he had 3 interceptions and seems to be picking up right where he left off. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll start with the GOAT, Tom Brady, and his collection of pass catchers, most notably Rob Gronkowski, who caught not only 1 but 2 touchdowns and looked like the Gronk of old, just making things look easy out there. He finished up the night with 31 fantasy points, while Tom Brady added 21 fantasy points of his own, going 32 for 50 with 379 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Antonio Brown had a stellar game as well, looking like vintage JB, making the Cowboys defense look like child's play. If you drafted him, you probably got him for a bargain considering all the other skill players around him. He finished up his night with 7 receptions for 121 yards and a beautiful touchdown, scoring 24 fantasy points. A tremendous start for AB. Chris Godwin had a solid night as well. Now, we did have a fumble in the red zone, which is not going to make owners of him happy, but he did somewhat make it up with a big go-ahead catch late in the game. He finished up his night going 9 for 14 with 105 yards, scoring 24 fantasy points. The odd man out was Mike Evans, finishing with just 5 points. He just didn't look right all game long, and if that trend continues, he might be a player you look to move on from. Man, there are a lot of mouths to feed on this offense, and another guy who definitely ate last night was Leonard Fournette, and not in the way you'd expect. Tampa used him mostly last night as a pass catcher, and it was a role he excelled in. While he only scored 9 fantasy points, his presence was definitely felt, although probably more for his team than your fantasy squad. I can't say the same for Ronald Jones, as we simply didn't see much of him after the early fumble, so that will be a situation worth monitoring, but I do think he has the most upside out of the 2. Defensively for the Buccaneers, Carlton Davis was probably the big winner there with the interception, while Shaq Barrett added a sack as well. All in all, a very good game and a nice way to start the fantasy football year, with 2 explosive offenses duking it out. If you have an offensive skill player on either of these teams, you should be sitting pretty right now. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. For more fantasy football content, sub the channel and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. See you next time, guys.